Thank you so much for coming out. I'm Colleen Cosplay, and I'm running a panel on cosplay as a side hustle. So this is how you can make just a little bit of money from cosplay. If you're looking for someone to just like squeeze the joy out of your hobby and turn it into a monetization thing, that's not me, okay? I love cosplay. I've been doing it for a while. It is my joy. These are just some things that I found out that after doing this for a few years, like, fabric is expensive, you guys. Like, wigs, expensive. And there were some things that I was already doing that was able to generate just a little bit of income to just help cover the expenses of being a cosplayer, because you can certainly do it on the cheap, but I think we all know how expensive this hobby can get. So your first question should probably be, who am I? And why do I feel like I can talk about making money as a cosplayer? So I'm a cosplay guest here at Mid-Valley. Thank you so much for having me. I've been cosplaying for over 10 years, and I've been doing YouTube for 5 years. I do cosplay tutorials. I show you how to make costumes like the one I'm wearing right now. I made this one. I do convention vlogs, show you guys around the convention, and I share my experiences as a disabled cosplayer, and I also do some disability advocacy for making conventions accessible, like this lovely ramp. I love this ramp. So I also talk about those things. I've been doing the social media thing and the cosplay crafting thing. So let's define a side hustle. Like I said, we're not squeezing the joy out of your hobbies, okay? I don't want that for anyone. So the dictionary definition, apparently this is in the dictionary now, guys. So it's just a part-time job or occupation undertaken in additional to one's regular employment. So my regular job, when I'm not dressed as Supergirl, I'm actually an engineer. So I have a 4-year mechanical engineering degree. I've been working in the engineering industry for more than 5 years. That picture is me at graduation. I wore an entire Supergirl costume under my graduation robe. And like that, yeah, that's what I'm most proud of, actually. So that's what I do to make money. That's what I do to pay the bills. Cosplay does not pay the bills. It never goes that far. It never touches the bills. This is just something that I do on the side. So, a side hustle. How much money are we talking here? I call it wig money, okay? You can definitely get wigs for like $12, but these can be really, really expensive. Fabric can be expensive. So it's just enough to, you know, help supplement the cosplay hobby. I actually use this money mostly for subtitles on my YouTube channel. I get my channel professionally subtitled, so that's where a lot of the money goes, but mostly just helping to, you know, pay for fabric and stuff. So I'm going to be showing you guys how much I made last year and kind of like what I added up for taxes. So I made $1,303 from cosplay last year. So that kind of comes out to like roughly $100 a month. If you just divide it all out. And it's kind of hard to see from out there, but I also have a spreadsheet that we'll go over. And the big takeaway from the spreadsheet is I also show how much money I spend on cosplay, and I pretty much always spend more than I make. So this is certainly not something that I'm advocating for you to like become rich and famous off of. It's helping offset the cost. Okay, we're gonna talk commissions. We're gonna talk selling stuff. What are cosplay products you can sell to make money? We're gonna talk about social media, like AdSense, and just posting cosplay content and making money off of that. We're gonna talk about brand deals, working with brands. They can pay you money, or they'll even gift you cosplays to help with the cost. And just other miscellaneous things like teaching, guesting, what I'm doing right now, running panels, stuff like that. So let's start with commissions. You know, I did commissions for a very short time. It was something that just ended up not being for me, but I looked into it for a long time. And that's mostly because, like I said, like, I want this to be something I enjoy. I want this to be a hobby. And for me personally, doing full commissions, this is one of the commissions I did. I made that whole costume. It felt too much like work for me. I love my dad. That's my dad modeling. He looks great. I loved doing that for my dad, but after making such an intense costume for someone else, I realized it just wasn't for me. But I do want to talk about the process I went through, if that's something for you. If you personally just love sewing and don't care, you know, what you're sewing or who you're sewing for, this could be a great option. So you can make a costume for someone else. The biggest struggle I had was figuring out how to quote everything properly. How long does it take to sew a zipper? If someone asked you to sew a zipper, how much would you charge? How long does it take to pattern something? How much would you charge for that? That was my biggest struggle with commissions, because people would say, hey, sew a Supergirl costume, and I'm like, how do you even put a price tag on that? And I always ended up underselling myself by like a significant amount. Okay, so my biggest recommendation if you want to do commissions is for my own personal projects. I kept track of how much the materials cost and how much the labor cost. Just so when someone came and asked me for a quote, I could look at this build and be like, okay, I dyed some fabric for this build and it took me this long, so I know I need to charge that much. Some commissioners do an hourly wage and calculate it that way. Others don't, maybe have a flat rate. But here's what I did for Techna. So for that character, I dyed all the fabric. It's all custom dyed. I did some patterning on it. I sewed it all together. It's completely lined. It's a very nicely made costume. And it says it took me 20 hours to make this. So looking at this costume, a little crop top and pants, if someone asked me to make this, would I have known it was 20 hours? I feel like I probably would have sold myself short at like maybe 10. So it's just, it's hard to wrap your brain around like how long it actually takes to make a costume and how you can charge appropriately for making a costume. So here it says it took me like over 2 hours just to dye the fabric, because you have to do dye tests. You have to figure out like, is the dye too saturated? Does this look good? You have to dye the fabric. You have to dry the fabric. There's a lot going on there. And then I also count the material cost, because you also like, I mean, if someone's paying for a commission, you want them to buy the fabric, not you, right? So you also need to know how much fabric costs and how, like what fabric you're going to use, what's the right fabric choice. So I also keep track of that just to get a better idea. So the total, this says the costume was $200. That's because I had just a very extravagant shoes. It's really like $100 and $100 shoes. I cannot resist platform shoes. So if I'm going to treat myself, I'm going to get some platforms. But, you know, would I have come up with $100 and 20 hours of work? Probably not. So definitely keep track of what you're doing for your personal builds. So there are some other things that you can sell cosplay-wise. Doing full costume commissions is kind of intense. Some people actually do that professionally, and that is their like whole job. So there are some smaller things that are more on the side hustle level. I see a lot of people selling 3D print files, you know, like STL files, and that's digital. And the really cool thing about that is you put it on Etsy, they buy the file, it like gets emailed to them automatically, and you get money in your bank account. That's how it works. Same with digital patterns. You just put those up on Etsy or wherever you're selling, and it's just a really nice passive income. You don't have to ship anything. It just shows up. It just emails it. It's all automatically done. So I've seen a lot of people be really successful with 3D files or digital patterns. Some people just make little jewelry pieces or little smaller props. Like if I wanted to do commissions just for Supergirl shoes. And like there are some people who just specialize. They like only do one thing and they're just fantastic at it. You can do wig styling. Some people just style wigs. You could do files, embroidery patches, or some people just do alterations. There's a big market for like alterations for regular clothes too even. And then I have the little meme of pros and cons of making things. Pro, thing, con, make. Which I think sums it up pretty well. So commissions are really great for some people, but for me, it just wasn't bringing me the same joy as making something for myself. As much as I love sewing, I just decided it wasn't for me. So I'm not taking commissions now, but I wanted to share my experience there.